Merry Christmas to all our viewers around the world. This is a tripartite wishing you out there Merry Christmas. Welcome to your #1 labor program from Africa to the rest of the world, the tripartite, the worker, employer, and government roundtable. I am your regular host, Abulu Osemaho.
Migration policy represents in terms of improving governance, but ultimately also really services to the public, to potential migrants.
Now it's festive season, but one interesting development is the International Day for Migration. In our Let's Talk segment, we will give you up to date with the latest figure, that is 218 million migrant workers, all are scattered around the world. In Nigeria, migration is sometimes called Japa, but you know Japa is already adopted in the Revised English Dictionary.
And the people should be patient with us. These are things that we are committed to.
Also in our Let's Talk segment, we will bring you an interview we had with the Minister of Labor and Employment, Dr. Mohamed Megari Dingyari, on the sidelines of the 2025 International Labour Conference. Also in this package, we have global stories shaping the world of work. For your delight.
Did you know? Scientists have been studying remote work for 4 years and have reached a very clear conclusion. Working from home makes us happier. How true is this? Did you know? Has the facts below for your information. A 4-year Australian study has shed new light on one of the biggest workplace shifts of our time, working from home. Starting before the pandemic and continuing through the years that followed, researchers from the University of South Australia tracked how teleworking impacts employees' daily lives. Their findings are clear: when it's a choice rather than an obligation, remote work significantly boosts happiness, health, and overall well-being. The real benefits of working from home. The pandemic acted as an accelerator, forcing millions into telework almost overnight. What many considered a temporary adjustment soon turned into a lifestyle change. This research, unique because it began before COVID-19 followed. Australian workers across 4 years, offering an unusually comprehensive view of telework's long-term effects. While not without its challenges, the data strongly suggest that remote work can be a powerful tool for creating healthier, more balanced lives. More sleep, less stress. One of the most immediate effects of working from home was better sleep. On average, remote workers gained an extra 30 minutes of rest per night. Considering that Australians used to spend around 4.5 hours a week commuting, this isn't surprising. Long commutes have long been linked to poor mental health and higher stress levels. By eliminating or reducing these daily journeys, employees experienced more energy, less fatigue, and greater peace of mind. Although researchers noted a slight uptick in alcohol consumption during the early months of lockdowns, the overall trend was overwhelmingly positive, with clear improvements in mental well-being. The time-saving equation. The time saved from not commuting proved to be invaluable. Some workers used it to get ahead on projects or manage household responsibilities, while others invested it in family care. Interestingly, about a third of that saved time was directed toward leisure and physical activity. Productivity meets personal life. This balance between productivity and personal enrichment shows that remote work doesn't simply give back hours, it redistributes them in healthier ways. Similar studies in Spain even suggest that teleworkers effectively gain up to 10 extra days of free time per year, time that can reduce sedentary behavior and improve overall health. Solution. It won't suit every job, industry, or personality. Instead, it should be seen as one option within a more flexible, inclusive work environment. The real challenge for companies is to design systems that accommodate diverse needs, creating customized approaches that balance business performance with employee well-being. As the researchers put it, this isn't about choosing sides, remote versus office, but about building a future of work that embraces both. The Australian study confirms what many workers have felt for years: flexibility matters. By cutting commuting stress, encouraging healthier lifestyles, and maintaining productivity, working from home has proven to be far more than a pandemic stopgap. For employees, it means better well-being and more freedom. For businesses, it's a chance to rethink management, culture, and performance. And for society, it marks the beginning of a new philosophy of work, one that values balance as much as output. The conclusion: the flexibility to work from home provides measurable benefits for both physical and mental health.
My name is Mohammed Megardi Gadi, the Minister of Labor and Employment. You are watching the Tripartite program on AIT.
Don't forget, this program is open for sponsorship, support, and collaboration. Link us on our socials as displayed on the screen. Now let's bring you labor stories shaping the world of work globally.
2025 Workers and Children's Rights Writers International, WCRWI, issues a global call to recognize and dismantle the interconnected crises facing migrant workers and their children. This year's theme, Safe Journeys, Safe Futures, Protecting the Rights of Migrant Families, highlights the urgent need for policies that see the family unit as indivisible in the pursuit of dignity and safety. An estimated 281 million people live outside their country of origin. While they are often celebrated as economic heroes, millions face systemic exploitation, unsafe working conditions, wage theft, and exclusion from social protections. This injustice has a devastating dual impact on the parents who endure these conditions and on their children, whose rights to safety, education, healthcare, and a stable family life are profoundly violated. Children on the move, migrant and refugee children, whether traveling with families or alone, face heightened risks of trafficking, violence, detention, and exclusion from education. Children in destinations, even when families migrate together, children often face barriers to schooling, healthcare, and social integration, while living under the constant threat of their parents' precarious legal status and labor exploitation. A new Public Service International (PSI) report exposes how labor migration schemes are draining Pacific Island nations of skilled healthcare workers, deepening an already critical workforce crisis. The report, written by the Center for Future Work with support from the International Labour Organization (ILO), reveals how temporary labour mobility schemes like Australia's PALM and New Zealand's RSE are expanding into healthcare sectors, with Pacific Island countries paying the price. The report supports the demands of PSI member health unions across Oceania, inclusion of unions in all decisions regarding migration, for fairer migration schemes which protect labour rights, ensure decent work conditions and stop the systematic undermining of their public health systems. Trade unions led strikes and mass mobilizations across Europe in December 2025 against austerity and anti-worker policies. In Portugal, the first general strike in 12 years saw an estimated 2.7 million workers take part out of a workforce of 5.8 million. This successfully pushed the government to agree to amend a bill which seeks to water down water rights, though the struggle continues. In Italy, a nationwide general strike led by CGIL saw over 500,000 workers march against budget cuts, demanding better wages and investment in public services. In Switzerland, PSI affiliate SSPEVPOD continues to mobilize in cantons like Vaud and Geneva against planned 2026 cuts. Nigeria's Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Mohammed Ali Pate, has been asked to expedite efforts to resolve industrial issues which has forced the joint health sector unions, JOHASU, into strike for more than 34 days and counting. The call was made by executives of JOHASU who led thousands of members to picket the headquarters of Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare Federal Secretariat Complex in Abuja, demanding for immediate implementation of the long-standing Consolidated Health Salary Structure, CONHES. Worried by the statistics of health workers, teachers, miners, and farmers killed due to the spate of insecurity in Nigeria, thousands of workers under the Nigeria Labour Congress decided to take to the streets in Abuja, in demand of an end to insecurity. Despite the last-minute appeals by the presidency and the Nigerian Governors Forum as well as a mountain of security operatives, the workers marched on. The initial protest's route was from the Labour House up to the National Assembly, but it was cut short as they were turned back by security operatives halfway.
According to a publication on Times of India on December 15, 2024, Saudi Arabia guarantees 30 days paid leave, housing, and strict work rules for agricultural and herding workers. Employees are entitled to 30 days paid leave, weekly rest, housing, food, and transportation allowances. Working hours and breaks are strictly defined, and overtime is compensated. Employers cannot exploit workers under 21 or assign unrelated tasks, while employees must follow schedules, maintain confidentiality, and work diligently under fair conditions. Saudi Arabia has taken a major step to safeguard the rights of agricultural and herding workers, ensuring fair pay, rest, and working conditions. New regulations approved by Minister of Human Resources and Social Development, Ahmed Al-Raji, extend detailed protections to employees working in private homes, farms, and with livestock, aiming to provide clarity and fairness in their employment. The regulations guarantee workers a minimum of 30 days of paid annual leave each year, with monetary compensation if the contract ends before leave is taken. Paid holidays include 4 days for Eid al-Fitr starting from the 29th of Ramadan, as well as the National Day and Founding Day. Daily work is limited to 8 hours, with mandatory breaks of at least half an hour for rest and meals if working more than 5 consecutive hours. Weekly rest days of at least 24 hours are required, with an alternative day provided if work falls on the usual rest day. Overtime is compensated at 50% of the basic wage, though work on official holidays does not count as overtime. A probationary period of up to 90 days is allowed, during which either party may terminate the contract without compensation, but it cannot be repeated with the same employer. The regulations also set clear responsibilities for employers. They must provide suitable accommodation, food or an allowance, and transportation if the residence is far from work. Employers cannot charge for visas, residency permits, or related procedures, nor hold passports or personal belongings. In the event of a worker's death, employers must cover burial or repatriation costs.
In the heart of the hustle, we find our way. 3 sides of a story that need to stay. Workers look for fairness with hopes held high. Employers crafting dreams beneath the open sky. Together we can rise, hand in hand, building a future, the promised land. Tripartite hope, where voices unite. Workers and employers standing up for their rights. Together we strive through thick and thin. A brighter tomorrow, let the journey begin. Governments listening with ears so keen. Tripartite dance in the fields and the sea. Respect and trust, the roots of our bond. With every step forward, our spirits respond. Stronger tomorrow, we'll pave the way. In unity we flourish, come what may. Tripartite hope, where voices unite. standing up for their rights. Together we strive through thick and thin, a brighter tomorrow. Let the journey begin. So let's raise our voices, let's lift the call. With tripartite strength, we can conquer it all.
Welcome back. Now, as we told you in the opening, let's also tell you what the International Trade Union Confederation, ITC Africa, is saying, and also a soundbite from our friend Sandra from GIZ, what they are all saying regarding the International Day for Migration, which held on December.
In a statement issued by the General Secretary Akato Joel Udije to mark the International Migrants Day 2025, ITC Africa, which represents more than 18 million workers across Africa, said it stands in solidarity with migrant workers and their families, stressing that migrants are both human beings and workers who deserve dignity, protection, and fair treatment. The ITC Africa urged African governments to strengthen protections for migrant workers by reinvesting in decent work opportunities, expanding social protection, ensuring fair recruitment, and improving labor migration governance. It also called on African Union member states to ratify the AU Free Movement Protocol adopted in 2018, describing it as critical to achieving continental integration under Agenda 2063 and unlocking the full potential of the African Continental Free Trade Area. The statement added that global and continental frameworks already exist to address these challenges, including the International Labour Organization ILO conventions, fair recruitment principles, the Global Compact for safe, orderly, and regular migration, and the African Union and Regional Economic Communities REC's migration and labour instruments. ITC Africa, however, expressed worries that implementation gaps remain wide, weak regulations of recruitment agencies, lack of political will, limited labor inspection, deep structural challenges, and poor access to justice continue to fuel exploitation and irregular migration, stressing that security-only approaches and border externalization have failed, pushing migrants into dangerous routes while enriching traffickers. The regional organization noted that Africa remains a continent of origin, transit, and destination, with most migration taking place within the continent. According to the ITUC Africa General Secretary Joel Udije, workers migrate largely in search of decent work, safety, and opportunity, driven by unemployment, inequality, conflict, climate stress, and weak labor markets. However, Udije said many migrants and their families continue to face severe challenges, including abusive recruitment practices, wage theft, forced labor, trafficking, and widespread discrimination. Women, migrant workers, and young people, the group added, are particularly vulnerable to violence, harassment, and unsafe irregular migration pathways. The organization further appealed to the African Union and regional blocs to harmonize labor migration frameworks, strengthen right-based bilateral labor agreements, and ensure that free movement policies are firmly anchored in workers' rights and social dialogue. The ITUC Africa said it remains committed to building alliances with non-state actors and engaging governments to ensure the safety, rights, and dignity of all migrants.
Contributing to the huge puzzle that migration policy represents in terms of, improving governance, but ultimately also really services to the public, to potential migrants and returning migrants. And I think that's why we are here today, to look at how we can improve the protection of migrant workers' rights, and having a migration policy as a trade union organization, as a trade union movement, is really quite important, because I think we all know that I think sometimes we need these kind of policies in order to understand that these people are our target group, right? Not just the members that are already affiliated, that are paying dues, but also the potential members, both the migrants coming to Nigeria, as well as those that will be leaving Nigeria. And how do we protect their rights? Obviously, by better collaboration and partnership with trade unions in the destination countries. And those trade unions in the destination countries also need to be sensitized in terms of looking at migrant workers um, as their bread and butter, let's say. I mean, we're living in a globalized world with a much higher number than ever before of people that are on the move. Some of them are labor migrants, others are IDPs and refugees. Nevertheless, they all need to work to survive, and in order to work decently, they need the support and protection of trade unions. So, this initiative, it's of course, it's not just in Nigeria that trade unions are adopting this kind of policy. This has been happening all over the world. And as Comrade James already pointed out, I've been working on numerous programs, we like to say in the migration space, but also with trade unions and other partners. And I'm happy to say that, this is just the first step. So once you have the migration policy, it's now about making trade union agreements, collaboration agreements with those in those countries where Nigerians tend to migrate to. I think that's the next step, and ultimately this is about building bridges and strengthening international collaboration. I think too often the concept of international solidarity, it ends with signing petitions or attending international gatherings like in Geneva at the International Labour Organization. But this kind of collaboration and international solidarity is really about people and defending migrant workers' rights. So I congratulate the Nigerian trade union movement with this important step, and I look forward to the dynamics that will ensue once a much broader and stronger network of trade unions fighting for migrant workers' rights will come into life in Nigeria, in Africa, and globally.
Also, as we told you in our opening, let's hear from the Minister of Labor in Nigeria, Dr. Mohammed Megari Dingyari.
You see, when you look at what we have done, one would say we have almost done it 100%, from 30,000 to 70,000. We have never had it so good than this time around. So for anybody to start complaining, he has all the justification to complain, but what is proper need to be said, it is proper. We have done very well. Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is committed to the welfare of workers, is committed to ensuring that there is peace within the labor cycle, and we have not only increased the minimum wage, we have also committed ourselves to review it after every 4 to 5 years time. So you can see there is that wisdom, there is that commitment to workers' welfare, and the people should be patient with us. These are things that we are committed to, not only to Nigeria, but to the international community.
I am Honorable Minister, State, Labour and Employment, and I'm watching tripartite on AI.
Yeah, once again, we want to wish you Merry Christmas and prosperous New Year from the stable of the tripartite at Dar Communications PLC. Enjoy responsibly as you celebrate the festive season. Don't forget, this program is open for sponsorship, partnership, collaboration, and support. And follow us on our socials. Contact us on our email address as displayed. And we are with you because workers' lives matter, employers' business matter, government policies matter, pensioners' welfare matter, eliminating child labor matter, fair recruitment matter, labor migration governance matter, You watching the program matter, the tripartite cares. I am your host, Abulu Osemaho. Let's do this